This is a Bridge 99 and the program is The Public Eye. Thanks so much for joining us. We talk about the affairs of the nation. We talk about international issues that affect the rock. We talk about the connectivity between Jamaicans all over the world. We don't skin up. We don't abuse anybody. We talk it straight. We are proud to be Jamaicans. We think good things are happening in this land, but we think that things could go so much better because we really believe, that this is the Garden of Eden and that we are among the chosen people. So thanks so much for being with us. It's one of a kind program. It has the longest pedigree of any program going on Jamaican radio on different stations, and it's appropriate on the Bridge 99. The Honorable Pearnel Charles O.J. Sr. is with us. Good day, sir.
Good day. I should report to you that you were absent last week.
Yes, sir.
And you were replaced by a gentleman who I admired very much.
Okay.
I did not disturb him. He made his presentation. He did so well, I gave him an A.
Who was that, Irwine?
Irwine, yes.
Very good. Yes,
he was so happy to be home, and he did fantastic.
That's good. I'm very glad to hear.
He seemed to be an experienced person.
Well, I'm telling you, good choice coming from a source that we are accustomed to, and that's good. Very glad. Later on in the program today, Dr. Leahcim Semaj, the psychologist and public commentator, joins us. He has a view on how the situation of traffic chaos in Jamaica in fact affects and reflects the national psyche. It's going to be fascinating. You won't hear that anywhere else. And later on in the program on the Global Connection, after the 1 o'clock hour in New York, it's going to be the professor of Monroe College, Professor Basil Wilson, esteemed and venerable commentator on Caribbean American affairs, to help us to analyze the midterm elections in the United States as the results trickle out, as the anxiety either increases or decreases. We always begin, however, Honorable Pearnel, with looking at the Jamaican scene and some of the events of the last week. Yes? How are we going to what are the things that you think were most most important? I have a number of them. A good one. Can I start with that?
Yes.
You saw the picture in the press this week of that higgler lady
no.
halfway tree.
No. Don't go there.
Why?
Because it reminds me so much of the lady I told you about.
Yes.
Who had two such daughters in Port Morant.
Yes.
And she had to use a battle lamp to let them read on the step.
Yes.
And people were saying, she doesn't make mosquito bite out of picking them. Right? Then I discovered she couldn't read.
She couldn't read.
She could not read.
No.
But she could know whenever the children make a mistake. She say that word again.
Yes.
And I'm so proud because,
look here,
Ronnie, you, every time you come with this thing, you say, I'm trying to be somebody else. My mother was a higgler. Really? My mother carried food from St. Anne to Coronation Market, buy mango in James Hill, and guess what? I had a chance to follow her up to James Hill to buy mango to go to Brownstone. Another time I give you the joke about how somebody took her spot in the market in Brownstone. And the lady said, I didn't know you were coming today. So my mother said, well, you have to move.
Yes.
She said, no. And she pushed my mother to go away. My mother, instead of pushing her back, run to her sister and say, hold me. Hold me. Because the woman pushed me and I was going to fight. We use that and we would laugh at her for the whole year. Every time our sister gave us a joke. But it is to show you that all jobs properly done.
This is spirit, it's a spirituality
that
allows that. Look at this woman. She said the most unfortunate aspect of this report. This is a higgler in halfway tree who sacrificed over years and years, for our listeners who haven't followed the news.
Two daughters
graduated from UWI last week. No, this is a woman who said, sorry, them father never stand up and take any responsibility. What a tragedy that. How much different and easier it would have been Yes? What is the attitude of those two girls, triumphant though they are, about men? Yes? Because we want them to make sure that they don't have a jaundiced view of men. Yes? We want to make sure that they, we need some more volume here, Jeffrey. They don't have a jaundiced view of men because of their own experience. But she, notwithstanding, is the mother who fathered them.
Well, Ronnie, when a mother can stay where she did,
Yeah.
or probably still is,
Yeah.
and produce two such
Yeah.
graduates,
There's bomb in Gilead.
what it should be is a special prize to other women.
Yeah. But I want to say something to you. That kind of person is supposed to get national honors, you know. Not the ones who push up themselves and call members of parliament, Mr. Charles, Mr. Thwaites, and say, oh, Mom, how about a little OJ for me? You know? Yes? I'm sure you've come across that from time to time.
Every day.
Yeah.
Every day.
Yes. So it is so important that we get we honor those who have really done spectacular things almost from nothing.
Well, what it does, as I say, and I do hope and wish that other mothers
Yeah.
will follow this example, and don't believe that because they're higglers
Yeah.
that they can't produce the best of the world.
Yes. Well,
Don't believe that.
Yes, I'm so
And
happy.
she's such a calm person.
Yeah.
She does. I wish she had hugged the other one. That we see both. Somebody would be saying.
both together. Let's talk some other things. We unfortunately not as positive. We had a case in court that worried me. Here is a man whose trial is likely to be scheduled for 2025. For 2025.
Yes.
And he's been in custody for 9 years already. 9 years. Now, there may be all kinds of good reasons for that. But I am reminded that justice delayed is justice denied.
That has been your motto for a long time.
Yeah.
And
Why can't we do better on that, sir?
We have to. But it's more in your field.
Yeah.
So you need to push it a little
But
harder.
it demands a resolve on the part of the people and the government that we're going to put more money into the pursuit of justice in this country.
Randy, I'm glad you make the second point. Put more money. Because all of us have been calling for all things to be done.
Yeah.
Bridges to be done, roads to be done,
Yeah.
school to be done, teachers and police to be paid, food, nobody understand that the money to do those things come from us.
Well, look, but pause there, sir. Let me take you on that. This is where this discussion is rich, you know, because the finance minister, Dr. Clark, announced that there is some 60 billion more to spend this year.
Yes.
Largely because he has been dipping more into each of our pockets.
Yes.
And taking out more than was anticipated.
Yes.
Okay, I don't mind that, you know. What I mind is what it's being used for.
Well,
No.
you heard that he said a major part of that
Yeah.
is for compensation for the review with the civil service.
No, but stop there. Not one word in that review of the civil service.
Let's talk about
Thank you,
production.
sir, productivity.
I know. Because when I heard it, I heard it, I said, if Ronnie had written that script, he had said, because we expect our civil servants to produce so much more, and we are training them to help us move so much forward, we expect to give them compensation from this package. I said to my wife, when Ronnie heard that, the first thing he's going to say,
But yes, but I'm so happy you anticipate me, because that is exactly what can happen. No one is saying the public servants don't require additional money. I'm sure one retired member of parliament will also hope with me that the pensioners get a little more too.
Well, yeah, I would hope that, because well, go ahead.
But you cannot spend more to get the same or to get less.
Well, I don't know if I should have said this because it may have become a news thing and I don't want it to. I had a chance to speak to some of the security guards.
Yes.
And
really?
Yes.
Uh-huh.
And they said how much money the company owe them.
Uh-huh.
And I said, it's much more than money,
Uh-huh.
It is a restructuring and reorganization of your profession.
Mm-hmm.
Because you guys have been working, no overtime, no
sick leave. Can you imagine a female security guard, no maternity leave?
No, right?
Oh.
So therefore, it is not something you go and sit at the table and say you're going to get $10 more.
Yeah.
It is an institution
yeah.
that has to be reorganized
yeah.
and put into even better than what we have.
Yeah.
And they start to see it. Because everybody says they just want more money. No, that's it.
Yeah.
But it's much more than just want more money. It's the end in the final.
Of course, they'll get more. But let me ask you: you're the most veteran trade unionist in Jamaica now, by any count. Do you agree with Vincent Morrison that it's time for a joint industrial council for the security industry?
Well, the only thing that Vincent did not say is that Pearnel and myself were the two that organized a major part of the security years ago.
Yes, and we're rebuffed.
And we were rebuffed by some of their own colleagues
because
who
they
went
were
back
threatened.
And reported them, and many were were
this struggle of the working class for dignity, for decency, for the conditions of work that no higher up in the society would ever do without, would ever accept, continues from 1837 right up to the present. And you are a living witness of that, Mr. Charles.
And I had to say to some of them yesterday that, we've been fighting for more for domestic workers.
Yeah.
Nobody ever mentioned them.
No.
You know how many hours they have to work?
I do.
And then you hear that they don't get this because they have a special contractual thing. Now, let me say something, because somebody is asking me. I can see one of the leaders in the industry saying, what about us? Certainly.
Yes.
They can't go without you.
No.
And you can't go as you are.
No.
You can't take the same little money you're getting and do what you did not plan to do.
Yes.
Like what we have mentioned about what the security guards should get, like an average worker, including their pension, including their NHT,
but hear me
including their sick leave, including their this and that.
But my concern is that the structure of economy, the vast inequalities in the economy, will make the achievement of all those things you just set out to be impossible. It's going to involve too much of a shift of wealth, yes, and that therefore the security issue is in fact a tipping point, to use that cliched phrase, because in order for government to pay the benefits, in order for private industry, homes, business, etc., to do that is going to involve a level of expenditure that we have never contemplated before.
All right. I know you were there.
It's a price of dignity.
I know you were there as a shadow listening. So let me remind you of some of the things you heard. Because I said to them, it is not as easy as you see it.
Yeah.
Because technology has lifted us to a level where they can easily say, look, we're going to take you in the day.
Yeah.
We're going to take the machines
the camera
in the night. We're going to take this. So it is not something that you're going to go out and say you're going to strike on tomorrow morning. What you need to do, get yourself a good lawyer, a good industrial relations person, sit around the table, be prepared to compromise, be prepared to seek and hold on to what you need and should get, right? But it is yours, and don't take the foolishness.
Well, this to me, some see it as a threat, sir. I see it, like you, as a triumph for the working class of Jamaica, that for the first time at last, who said that, it has the opportunity to be treated as a dignified worker rather than as a contrivance, a victim of a contrivance contract. That is what I call it.
Well, I want to, before you jump off of the topic, I want to say something to the leaders of industry.
Yeah.
The leaders must sit down with their top people and measure productivity. What percentage are you getting from, you have 40 workers.
Yeah.
What do you expect 40 workers to produce per week?
Sure.
How much of that you have on the table as have been produced?
Yeah.
Then you can decide where you are, because some of you are not getting any production, and you've been asking for more wages, and so you put up the price.
Yeah.
To me, it's wrong.
That can't work.
I'm running. I'm not looking a job.
No.
But I told the guys, I am prepared to sit with you and advise you, because this rubbish that you have to strike to get what you want, it's not so, because it's not a one-man issue. The management of these industry have some problem themselves.
But do you understand?
They can't pay out what they don't have.
No, but what we are talking about, which is not fully understood, is a fundamental restructuring of economic relations in this society.
Well, say industrial relations.
Yes. Well, I think it's industrial relations impinge upon the economy. We are still a low-wage economy. You know, one of the things that happened this week too, that we need to mention to our listeners, and particularly those abroad, is that the very valuable BPO, business processing outsourcing industry, which has offered so much job opportunity to many people and some measure of foreign exchange, we don't know how much, staying in Jamaica, are saying that they can't keep the workers, that their turnover is extraordinarily high.
They can't keep and there's also a complaint there that the workers feel they're not getting enough.
Yes.
So I think that is a warning to say, look, again, Ronnie,
how much?
Get to the table.
Yeah.
Do a measurement.
Yeah.
It is fair. Technology is not the place now. You don't even have to go far.
Yeah.
You can do it at a computer.
Yeah.
What am I getting? What am I giving? What am I expect to get? And what should I get?
So I want to make sure now that we always like to be in discussion on any point practically, yes? Yeah. That the emphasis on higher levels of education so that people can in fact secure higher levels of wages and be more satisfied. Clearly that has to be a primary a priority.
Well, Ronnie, it bothers me sometimes when you do this intervention, because I feel her under my table.
I would be happy to be there.
No, the truth is, it gets back to the fact that some of our managers are not educated sufficiently in the job they're doing, even for themselves.
Yes.
I saw where 3 women who were working in other industry got together and set up a little company. Mm-hmm. They know about almost everything. Mm-hmm. They can implement it before they employ one person.
Yes.
Right? Uh-huh. Now, many of our leaders in industry, well, maybe, as I said, supporters in industry, managers in industry, they have never looked into an industrial relations book. Mm-hmm. They have never looked into a situation of how they should treat workers. Just the way you talk to a worker can get production.
Big difference.
Just the way you treat the worker, you can increase production. Mm-hmm. Just by saying, some of the companies say, sir, I don't feel well. They say, we don't. What are you talking about? I don't feel well. They say, come, jump in my car. Mm-hmm. And you rush that person to the hospital. And somebody say, wait, Mr. Brown, guess what? I'm carrying Ginny gone to hospital. What?
You told me something about your household. I don't think you intended me to stop on it. That sometimes your helper is part of your
No, every Sunday evening.
Look at that.
Right? My wife takes it as a job to say, we will cook this Sunday evening.
And you
and
come.
the helper and the gardener will
Come and
join
share.
us. Oh yes.
Yeah, no. That to me that is powerful.
Yeah,
you
but
you,
Ronnie-
you
Ronnie-
realize what centuries and depth of discrimination that changes.
Let me show you how damaging that would be otherwise.
Yeah,
Do you know who do the cooking?
yeah,
Do you know who the washing?
yeah. Members of your family.
No. My helper do the
Yeah,
cooking.
yeah.
So if she can cook
Sure.
for me,
The way you can.
and I
why she
can
can't eat with you.
confidentially eat what she
Yeah,
cooks,
yeah.
why shouldn't she come and join me at the table?
Well, no, but you see, these are profound blows for egalitarianism, you know, and it is that which makes people feel dignified and behave in a dignified, pro-social way, which takes me to another matter, Mr. Charles. This is a distressing one. Before Dr. Semaj joins us, but you'll get him as soon as you can, Lafayette. Mr. Everett Warmington. He really needs to be careful of what he says, you know.
I will say this. Warmington is such a nice guy.
Is he?
That is such a nice guy.
Yes.
That when
Glad
he
to
says
hear.
certain things that is not nice, you wonder how to approach it.
No? Oh.
Now,
See,
let me tell you.
well, if he's a nice guy, he ought to, and he says something that's untoward.
You have to tell him.
He ought to pull it back. He
right.
ought to know.
And you have to have to tell him.
Hello, Mr. Golding, Bruce Golding, in a cabinet of which you were a part,
Yes.
said he wouldn't have any gays in his cabinet.
Yes.
Okay? But when you have somebody who is a self-confessed bigot, he sits in your cabinet, Mr. Charles.
Yeah, but you know that Mr. Golden had withdrawn that too.
I didn't know he shouldn't have. Well,
Right.
I can't say that.
But
No,
he
I
said-
would have agreed
He said that
you should withdraw it.
He didn't employ somebody
Yeah,
in this cabinet
with it
because of
no,
his
and that is correct.
right? So,
That is correct. But no. But you know, I think
can I clear up one little point I made?
yes.
Because I find Warmington to be a nice guy, does not mean that the things that he says and does, I'm in support of.
No, but somebody needs to stop him. What if you were an investor outside and hear somebody within the kernel of Jamaican government say that, and everybody else kibber them out? What would you think?
Well, the truth is that I did not hear all of what he said, and what part I heard concerned the passport of Mr.
No, but it was much more than that, sir.
Yeah.
And further, a number of the high-ranking members of the House and leaders of the governing party, some members of the cabinet, sit down and listen to that and say not a word. Don't say "come now, stop," or when you finish. When you finish, take a break. Come now. Let us correct this. This indicates a spirit that is very, very worrying. And believe me, I can say to you as a white Jamaican, we know who you are. What are you saying? That you where your parents are born, or what the color of your skin defines your Jamaicanness. And one of the things Mr. Warmington said, yes, is the PNP started with my father born here.
Yes.
Okay, so he must go finish it. Is that the philosophy of the government?
Well, no.
You must be joking.
My response to that is that much of that is right across the society that needs to be corrected.
Well, this is it.
And need to be told.
But when it is
right.
when it is reinforced,
because they really keep Siaga out of power.
Yeah. So tell me.
And 1 minute. And Siaga went where many black people like me would never go to help those people.
Yeah. Indeed, sir. I accord him that.
And in fact, one last thing, and he left from uptown, where he did not have to campaign, and come downtown. Well, the rest is history.
Indeed, it is. So we really need to be clear on this. You know, don't say those things. And if you say it in the heat of two rum in your body, or the euphoria of the platform, which you and I know very well, you better than me. Yes, you come off and you say, "Look, I'm sorry, I make a mistake." Yes, I can't. once during my 10 years Minister of Education, to try to explain something about antisocial behavior in the school. I made a comment that it was no purpose in bringing children to school and letting them go outside afterwards like Lego beasts. And the opposition spokesman at the time, Mrs. Johnson Smith, called me up and upbraided me. Yes? And it stung. Yes? Because there was a real problem of antisocial consequences after school. But I withdrew the thing right away. Because what she said was that it would make people feel bad and so on.
Yes.
And no argument, right away.
Well, so you are the only one who had to withdraw and apologize because my first political speech in Highgate, just come out of university, you know.
Yes.
And I said, boy, you can talk, go and talk. And I got up and see the crowd, man. And I said, Labour right? Said, yes. I said, you must vote for the Labour Party, you know. Because Father christened them picnic first.
Oh, my Lord.
My Lord. With the press and the people, poor Hector Winter, dead and gone, had to rescue me. I said, listen, don't kill him, right? Sit down and let him know that this is not the way forward. And I'm sure he knew what I actually meant. Well, but it was a phrase because it wasn't created by me.
No, but never mind.
But should not have.
But you dealt with it. Shouldn't have been said. And I love the honesty and the candor in that regard. Let's take a break on the Public Eye, the only program of its kind on the Bridge 99. When we come back, Dr. Leahcim Semaj joins us. Thanks for being with us on the Bridge 99 FM. That peculiar station exists to link Jamaicans all over the world, talking to the diaspora, talking to people a yard. That's the Bridge 99, and this is the Public Eye with Pearnel, Charles, and myself. Greeting, Dr. Leahcim Semaj. How you do, sir?
I'm alive and well.
Those are the two biggest things, you know. Once you have that, you can move.
I mean, they say that, you only die once, but you live every day. You have a choice. Some people die without ever having lived.
True.
Dr. Leahcim Semaj.
My friend and brother.
I'm trying to associate myself with you in some way. You went to some college in New York, right?
Yes, sir.
Which one?
The University of Harlem.
So we were privileged to be in the same at some university.
Lord, I'm feeling left out.
Absolutely.
That's good. Leahcim Semaj, I picked up some remarks you made a few days ago about relating to the traffic chaos that has now become constant in Jamaica. What is the significance of traffic chaos to national life? What is it representing? Where does it take us?
Listen, it's a microcosm of what we have become. Look, leadership is very, very critical to any entity. And believe it or not, Ronnie and Pearnel, the lowest level that a leader or leaders will tolerate, that's what sets the culture for an organization or a country. Not the highest, not the highest ideal. The lowest level that will be tolerated. And also, anything that takes place in the public sphere, if it is not regulated, will have to be subsidized. That's how life works. So, traffic. It's a epitome of, let's just start at the beginning. We drive on the left. If we do not enforce that, and people just drive how they feel like driving, total chaos. And we are not far from that, because even though we say we have laws on the books, the laws are not enforced. And obviously, I had the wrong impression. The other day, a policeman stopped me, said that I just put on my seatbelt because I saw him. When you close the door and the seatbelt is hitched in the door, and I stopped and I opened the door again just to pull it out. And when I got down to the corner, the man said, "He's going to give me a ticket." Because I said, "But no. If you look carefully, you'll see what I was doing." But anyway, I went to court, you know. And by the way, Ronnie, I never enter a court building without having an attorney present, no matter how simple it is. I know something. Court isn't about truth or justice. Court's about what law says, all right? So anyway, no, I feel I have to do that. How can somebody with 120 tickets, if he has think of all the hundreds of people who have 50 and 60 and 70. Obviously, they know something about the system.
Yeah, they do.
That a couple of us weren't aware of. And that is the epitome. I've said that we could take back Jamaica one intersection at a time.
One intersection at a time.
Because it's at the intersection where the epitome of the problem lies. So in Kingston, we started that intersection by YMCA. You can, every day you see what happens there.
Well,
people don't stop on the traffic light. Now, look, there's a process and there's a product. Jamaica loves products but don't understand process. There's a process by which people acquire the behavior of obeying traffic lights and stop signs. Because you teach them how to do it and you teach them the consequences.
Stop there, Leahcim, please, because we always like to be very practical, and you are there. My concern is that my confident estimate, and it's not a guesstimate, is that certainly a third, if not more, of the drivers on the road in Jamaica have never been properly trained and have never taken an honest driving test.
Correct.
So what do you expect?
Well,
correct.
I was. Let me intervene and say something to you. It's not most of those people are the problem, you know. Running. The police, I don't want to give them any more burden. I know they have burden.
So what you saying?
But listen to me. And give me a minute. The announcement is that all cars must be so enlightened that the police can look into it.
No.
Oh, no. For 1 month, all the cars take off the black thing. And in the next third month, they all become black again. That's one. 2, all cars are required to do this. You're required to wear your seatbelt. Ronnie, if you find 20 people wearing seatbelts now, you'll find a whole heap. Now, somebody says the police business. The police say, I give them ticket.
But if you don't train them.
And somebody come to the politician and ask them to create what?
Amnesty.
So if I give out 5,000 ticket for motorbike man not wearing anything, taxi man not driving on the left-hand side of the road.
No helmet.
The motorbike have no helmet. The taxi man...
No insurance, no lights, no license.
No. First time driving, him don't drive on the right-hand side of the road. Him take the left-hand side, so you who come in have to take the banking. And I said to a policeman...
So where you going, sir?
Hold on. I said to a police, tell me something. Why am I seeing all of this? Is there no police when Mr. Charles? The police are overburdened.
No.
They give out the tickets, and guess what? One man have 100 and don't pay.
Yeah, but there's another aspect to it.
No, who is responsible for that? Because that's where my psychology is happening. I need Leahcim Semaj to assist me.
Okay.
When a police go out and give out tickets all day, and nobody pay, and some politician or some pastor, somebody get up and say, let's have an amnesty and give away half of the ticket. Listen, man. When I was minister, it couldn't happen. It never happened.
Okay.
Right.
Leahcim, how are we going to solve this chaos? Because there's the other side that I wanted to say, unfortunately. Yes? Many of the police are corrupt, you know. Go ahead, Leahcim.
What Pearnel has described, has become the rule.
Yeah.
The evidence is that wait long enough and there'll be an amnesty where you can pay 3 tickets and you can move on with your life. Each time we have these amnesties, we don't have a proper reset. And I said, all right, you see, from here going forward, we're going to do it right. We don't.
Okay.
Because as I said before, we understand product, but not process.
Yeah.
Process must be adhered to.
Yeah.
So everything that Pearnel has described, the no helmets, the no seatbelt, the no, those, it will continue because there's a the process is not adhered to, we enforce it for a week, and then we go back to regular programming.
And why is that, Leahcim? Because guess what? Don't tell me that you have to go to Constant Spring to license your vehicle. Because if you have 100 ticket, it is in Constant Spring and technology.
No, but the process is not. The process is not working. The process is not working. Because there's no connection between the pieces.
Because we don't want the process to work.
No, but then
how can I get a driver's license, right? If I have 100 ticket and don't pay it. How can my vehicle be still licensed if I have 100 ticket and don't pay it?
You give a man a money.
Ronnie, please.
Left or right.
Hold on. That is also part of the excuse, and it's not true.
No, what is not true?
Ronnie, you can't tell me the amount of man out there who have all them tickets. Pay all the policemen then.
Not all, but I'm sorry to say that some.
But Ronnie, and I am not trying to defend some.
And there's no recourse.
Hold on, there's a recourse.
What is
I saw more than 6 men riding down motorbike down Washington Boulevard the other day. Each of them have one a man on the back. So that's 12 of them. And there was a police car giving ticket for speeding. And the 12 men who fried past and got in and see them.
Oh.
So that is why I'm just asking, what is the process? Why? And guess what? I take time, come on, and I'm stopped. Say you are doing 85 instead of 80.
So I want to know what's the solution, Dr. Semaj, because it seems to me that this is indeed, as you say, a template for the national situation, the national condition. We do not train ourselves in the rudiments and the necessity, the benefits, some would say the joys of order, of discipline. And as a result, we're reaping the whirlwind now. And my view is it's gone beyond the tipping point. There's no way you're going to get taxis or motorcyclists to discipline themselves in Jamaica from now on.
No, behavior is governed by consequences. And remember the point I made up front, that the lowest level that leadership will tolerate is what sets the culture for an organization. And we tolerate, as we call it, nastiness, but let's call it, we tolerate disorder. And it's as if our leadership at all levels now don't have the stomach for enforcement. A couple of years ago, I was asked to do something to transform the culture of one of our very important ministries. And when I pointed out what was required, one of the directors said to me that, Dr. Semaj, you know that when a big rat makes a big hole, all the other rats can go through it.
What do you mean by that?
When I spoke to the big rat about what he needed to do to transform it, the man absolutely refused. I withdrew myself from the process then because I knew, look, at every level we see that, with all due respect, many aspects of our leadership like to leave little holes in the system that they can circumvent the rules, or their friends can get a blight, or a member of this can get a blight. Once there are those options in the system, all the smaller rats can get through it too. And it's as if we do not want to enforce discipline on our society.
But then,
because if we do, we can't have one law for the Medes and one for the Persians.
My concern is that young people, particularly schoolers, as you grow up, you understand how the runnings go.
Yes.
And I've been trying to, some time ago, I was trying to get some young people to learn to drive and provide a program as a member of parliament for helping that. And they were very receptive and very appreciative. But then several of them came to me afterwards and simply said, no, this thing is going to be too tough. Just give us some money, we will get the license, and then we will work out, and they did. I didn't give them the money, but they worked out a deal with an owner man within the community who have 2 Pro Box, and they drive. One of them certainly can't read at all, but he's on the road, okay, and he has to come in with a certain amount to pay the owner man and get something to carry home and pay the gas, and the gas gone up, and therefore him can't deal with congestion and road code and all them things are.
But Ronnie, you know what bothers me with what you have just said? they are such decent. Probably 99%
Yes, sir.
of the policemen are decent.
Yes, sir.
And that couldn't come under them.
Yeah.
But just that make all of them as bad as they smell bad.
Yeah, but look at what we have done. We have spent, and this crosses administrations, it's part of politics, but beyond partisanship. Leahcim, Pearnel, look at what we have done. We have spent billions and billions of foreign exchange on importing vehicles. One major reason that has been necessary and continuous is because we have systematically run down a public transportation system to the point now where we have to keep spending on it, even although it is going to hemorrhage from now until God comes. What folly is that? We can't afford the oil bill. It means that we can't buy the medicines. It means we can't pay enough for schools. It means that salaries are depressed because so much money is going on the oil. Yes, when in fact that which we could do to make a difference, we have set ourselves resolutely against. We're no brighter than that, man.
Yes, Ronnie, and we are brighter than that because we have been speaking right on the bridge here that there has to be a transport policy.
But we have a transport policy.
What's the transport policy? That's
No,
not
hold on, but
free for all. Free for all.
No, Ronnie, that is not. That is not documented. That would not be accepted.
When former Minister Montague told people, "Come now, any one of you want a license, come apply for it," 3 or 4 years ago, that is what did it.
Yeah, but he didn't say that you mustn't be able to read and write.
No, but gentlemen, again,
But the point is that a lot of who didn't even go there.
They're on the road same way.
there's devolution. As a child,
Yeah.
I took train and diesel from Kingston to Montego Bay.
Yes, sir.
And from Kingston to Port Antonio. And I took JO's bus to school in the mornings, which had a timetable.
Yeah.
At 7 o'clock when the bus was passing, going to the terminus, and it was time for me to get up from the dining table and go out. We did that 50 years ago.
Yes, sir.
And you mean to say Jamaica is worse now?
We've gone back.
Transportation-wise.
Yeah.
Backward.
Yeah.
Colonel, with all due respect, the politics is what intervened. The politics is what has made it legitimize an illegitimate system. We had a public transportation system that worked. We had timetable. Now, hustling and scuffling and is now become nationalized and institutionalized. And in order to get the genie back into the bottle, nobody wants to bail the cat.
Ronnie, Nick, and there's a little more than that, you know. If you drive down the Marcus Garvey Drive and look on your left hand, if you're going towards Harborview, you wonder where on earth they find space for those cars to drive. Now, hold on. And Ronnie, and I catch it from him. I don't want to go it like it's mine because I'm a trade unionist, but he gave it to me. We're not talking about production. So if you don't leave your yard at 5 o'clock, you cannot reach Harborview before 8 o'clock. So I leave my yard at 5:45 to go down to Ligani to do some exercise.
Yes.
And if I leave there at 6, I never reach there until 7. So let's know the big buses that leave Price Right to come to Halfway Tree with 6 or 7 people because the taxis carry the rest. How fast do you think they leave from Price Right and reach Halfway Tree with that amount of traffic? Bumper to bumper from 6 o'clock till 9. What time those people go to work? Then them leave work at 3 to go home, or they don't reach home till 7.
But then that's why I think the situation, frankly, has gone beyond what is called a tipping point, Leahcim. And I don't know how you fix it. Certainly one side can't fix it, one political side.
So there are a number of things, you know, that list keeps getting longer. There's some things that we have to now take off of the politics, take away. That there's no argument there. Argument done.
Yes.
There has to be an agreement, so you can't get a one-man-ship because it's you're the one that stopped the robot man. You're the one that. We have to make a decision. Are we building a nation or are we building a hut?
Well, I'll tell you, you can have me around your table to vote. You can vote for me. That I am on that side of saying we cannot continue. I tried it, Ronnie.
But
I tried it to the point that I
I know that.
Seema come there.
Yes, Patty Minister. But my concern is that the young people are learning on the streets when they go out on the streets. When the girls have to lap up with the boys in the taxi for each school at any recent time or get home. Yeah, they are learning very powerful lessons. We don't recognize what an effect on the national psyche, on the national spirit, these things are having.
Leahcim is asking
Leahcim, am I right?
Leahcim is asking, what is the opposite of what you say? What is the opposite? How do we now face a street that car cannot move, a bus that cannot move, and people have to go and produce, and they can't reach work? How do we solve it? How do we solve it?
We have to make a national decision that we are going to get it done. With good leadership, any problem can be solved. Why is it that the girls that go to Immaculate Conception will make one straight line as they wait for the bus? Month after month, year after year, that has never changed.
No, because they teach them that at school. And 1 minute, and their parents are in agreement with the school board and the teachers. Your dress reach down here, you perform this on school. Because guess what? As Pearnel Charles see you, they know this is the school you're coming from. And anyone that fall out of line, I said it's the whole school. So, can we go back to where now? This is where the police, that they reach a stage now that, as the same man and the police don't say it's because the vehicle belongs to the police, which is a lie. Leahcim is right. The system is now bad that the police themselves can't get it.
So who are we calling on to do what, gentlemen? Please, we can't just have this discussion.
The buck stop. Look, leadership. Leadership is the most critical element in any entity. With good leadership, any problem can be solved.
But
the lowest level that the leader tolerates is what sets the culture. And as I said before, let us start taking back Jamaica one intersection. Let's start with the intersection. The behavior at intersection.
But
and not just for 1 weekend,
Yeah.
We take it on look, we're not going to stop. This intersection will epitomize what we're trying to make Jamaica to become. We add another intersection and another parish, because we have to be willing to be in it for the long haul.
The addition that I would make is that process of taking it back at the intersection will be facilitated and enhanced if we have a proper system of training, and where we accept that anybody can just buy a license, drive anything, drive anyway, and make it go on. Yes, where I got a driver's license 60 years ago, I am not the same person as I was then. I've never had to take another test, although my hearing or my eyesight or my reflexes may be different. And none of the new road traffic law, none of the effort of the Road Safety Commission, or whatever they call them, headed by the Prime Minister of this country, will accept that mandatory training, the exclusion of persons who are alcoholic or who are drug infested, whatever. You have people on the road driving 18-wheelers who are psychologically and physically unable to manage what they're doing.
But
the new laws have that clause in it, but the only problem, it has gone too far in that anybody over 70 will have to present
much too far
certification
much
for
too
everything.
Far. Yeah, but
the cost of it is prohibitive.
Yes, and all that means is a doctor give you a certificate. This is not a retraining.
When you make something like that, then it creates a whole other set of problems.
Yes. Anyway,
I don't know. So for you, my insurance company gave me a document that I have to go to a doctor. And the doctor.
Yeah, me too.
And not my son, not my daughter,
No.
I go to another doctor.
Yes, sir.
And the doctor put me through a test, check my reflex, check my this, my that, and my that, and say, all right, you can go, and they are going to take me another 9 months. Because I have a daughter, who tell the police, if you see him driving, pull him over, detain him and call me. Because she's a dental surgeon.
You're on the woman government.
and not a doctor there.
So Leahcim,
once he's tested.
We need leadership then, but I don't see the leadership emerging. I don't hear anything coming from those who in their big car and their siren and their most honorable say they're leading this country.
But and that's the essence of our problem, Ronnie. That's the essence of our problem.
Here, Dr. Semaj, that's the essence of our problem.
Yeah, but doctor, let me ask you a question. We have a traffic law in Jamaica that has in most of what we are talking about.
No.
Hold on, running. And lady, hold on. And Trafalgar Road, where you have 3 lanes and a side lane if you're gonna make a left turn. And every taxi that is behind me come up
on the right and switch into the front.
Come up on the line that they should make a left and cut across everybody. And all of them. And
tell you the
truth, it hurts me
but we gotta
when
go.
that can happen. And I'm saying, why? I said to the police, is there one policeman can get?
But you're looking
at there were 10 tickets there.
You're looking at the wrong end of it. That's a consequence.
So what's it? It's a political end you want to look at?
No, I want to look at the proper training and the proper sanctioning.
Yeah, but you have them out there. That's what the psychologists tell us. We have 90% of the people out there already. How are you going to get them go train?
But you see the consequences.
Quickly for me. Quickly.
No consequences.
There are no consequences. Look at that.
One there at the bottom of where Waterloo and Old Church Road.
Yeah.
Policeman stands there, and when the taximan come down on the left, just come back in front, and just tell them go left and go round.
Him just go road front.
I gotta go.
And there is no policeman to pull him over.
I don't like this discussion. We're grateful for all the wit and insight, but we need solutions. Thanks so much for being with us, Leahcim. Always a pleasure. This is the Public Eye on the Bridge 99 FM. We'll come back for the Global Hour afterwards. And we're standing by to join for the Global Connection Hour with Irwine Clare on Irie Jam Radio in New York City. Irwine, are you there?
Yes, sir. I'm wearing blue today.
Hi, how are you?
I'm wearing blue today.
Well, I want to hear about that. Pearnel and I are interested in checking what is happening with the midterm elections. They look very finely poised. We're going to invite Basil Wilson to join us a little later. But what's your impression so far, Mr. Irwine Clare?
Well, first and foremost, let me say good day to you and your listeners, and welcome back, Run It to It.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for standing in last week.
While I was there, somebody was hoping that you bring back Irish Spring soap for them. So I hope.
And that somebody told him that you were assessed on your performance,
and you're given an A plus.
You're given an A plus.
That is important.
I think, and this is serious. I think you handled the program fantastic.
Very good.
We didn't miss Ronnie.
No, I did not say all of that. No, can you stop right there?
Except his presence would have make it happier.
No, well, and when we have a moment, not to take away from the commentary that Irwine is going to give, I want to tell you why I wasn't here. Because I had appointments in the west of Jamaica with 2 extraordinary schools in the midst of the wasteland or the ineffectiveness of so much of educational effort in Jamaica. Here is a school, Pearnel, Irwine. The Rock House Hotel in Negril is a boutique hotel, and the owners believe in sharing their profits between themselves, their staff, and the community. That itself, in my view, is a wonderful example.
Indeed.
And after setting up many basic schools in the West, what they have done now is set up a school in conjunction with the Catholic Church and the Ministry of Education for children who are challenged, as well as for normal children. It's called an inclusive school. And they have a state-of-the-art infant school. They are building at their expense a primary school and a high school to follow.
Indeed.
Yes.
Indeed.
For the same type of children.
Same category.
Yes. No. That is virtuous. That is the kind of partnership that can make Jamaica great. And then I went to a little school in a place called Revival in Westmoreland, down from Negril spots. And here you have a group of about 5 or 6 young women, 1 young man, I believe, who are just enthused, who don't believe in social promotion. That means that the children must learn what is in the grade before they get push up. yes, who are making sure that they have food, a breakfast as well as a lunch, yes, who are making sure that they are having parental conferences with each child's parents so that they can keep in close touch, yes, and who are simply lifting the standard of children there with a joy, with an enthusiasm. It's a faith-based institution, and the board is deeply involved. And I'm saying, while money is needed in both places, yes, look what human zeal and purpose can do. Yes, two different schools, you know. But I saw Balm in Gilead. I saw Jamaica's future. The most disrespected, the challenged, physically, mentally distressed children, and also ordinary peasant children. Just getting something that could make us all proud, with a discipline, with an order, and
if we can make it national.
Oh my God.
But why can't we?
And it comes back to exactly what Leahcim was just saying.
Yes, sir.
Start one place
Yeah.
and make it national.
But
And
are we
leadership.
But
And
are we?
leadership.
But are we learning from that? Though we see that as happening.
Yes.
But are we learning from it and making and planting seeds elsewhere, similar along the same line?
Yes,
Because if not, then it becomes an in the like a one-off
thing. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, you know, it's sometimes in the midst of all of the problems, we have to take a deep breath and
Yes,
see what
indeed.
is so good, what is so holy. I use the word purposely. So sacred in our efforts to lift up ourselves. That's what
Indeed.
we must do.
Indeed.
Go ahead, Berwin.
I was about to say, and some of that took place yesterday.
Well, this is what we hope, because Jamaica was chimbling. You know the word chimbling,
Yes,
Mr.
yes.
Charles.
You think of Jamaica alone? I had a conversation yesterday, I think, day before yesterday with Mr. Bruce Golden. He asked what I was going to do. I said, I'm packing my bags. My bags are always packed.
Bruce, by the way, wrote an extremely important article in the Jamaica Observer last week on the issue of democracy in America as a prelude to the midterm elections. So there was no red wave, or was it a minor red wave? What's your analysis, Irwin? Give us yours before we get Basil's.
Sure. Quickly, when we consider that in an off year like this, the party in the White House usually suffers, considering too that Joe Biden limped into this thing with a popularity or favorability rating under 46%. All the ingredients for a red wave, considering the rate of inflation, everything, the indicators were not in his stead. And so the expectation was a red wave. We saw those who would have been the recipient of such were indicating what they were going to do. And let me tell you, it was a frightening situation. I must tell you, I was one of those who were very, very concerned. That did not happen. So what it says is that it shows the resilience of Joe Biden, that there's still some belief in what he is doing or his administration is doing, one. Number two, the rebuke of those who will seek to go ultra-right. When you see in this country, we have now experiencing people taking advantage of one's handicap in public, or the whole situation of Paul Pelosi, what happened to him, how they'd run with that. That became almost like the part of a situation where one would have gone into the poll and started to think, is this the country I want to live in?
Yeah,
so these were some of the things that play into the results we saw yesterday. And what it says also too is that, I think it kind of tempers down the expectations of those who were gunning for red meat.
Well, hold on though. What's the results? Because what we're seeing on the CNN tracker is that the Senate is still very evenly balanced.
Yes.
The House is going to go red.
More than likely, but they won't have that kind of when we say result.
I didn't know they were going to have any other color but red.
Yes.
When you listen to
But you see, with 30 seats, it's a big difference. You can roll back. You can do a lot of things. They will be obstructionists, but remember, elections take place again in another 2 years when the stakes are much higher.
Well, we don't know really what it's going to end up with. The tracker says that the Republicans have 203. They've picked up 11, whereas the Democrats have picked up 4, which means that there's an advantage. So 4 of 7.
Yes,
That's not much.
That's not much, and there's still seats out there. But the Democrats have lost some big scalps here, because we've seen here in New York where the candidacy of the governor in the governor's race of Mr. Zeldin, although he did not win, his popularity boosted many other down-seat candidates.
He was a Republican.
Yes.
Kathy Hochul beat him.
Yes, Kathy Hochul beat him.
Mm-hmm.
But he has managed to take the scalp of some major Republicans and Democrats upstate.
Yeah.
Many people think of New York as a blue state, Ronnie and Mr. Charles. But it's not so, because when you go outside of metropolitan New York, it's a different story.
It's a different
story. And we see that playing out here.
Mm-hmm.
So New York, when one would have expected that New York, especially to deliver, we have serious work here to do.
Yeah.
But can I just temper it a little?
Yeah.
Because, Ronnie, I don't expect you to come on the air and say it, but I know you took a deep breath this morning and said, "Thank you, Lord."
Yes, sir.
And when you heard what's happening in Ukraine, you also stress your thankfulness to the Lord. If it is so. And when I listen to what's going to happen down in Africa with Ethiopia and Ukraine, in all of this, there are examples that we can follow and work on to make the world a better world.
Yes.
And you as a person, take it from there.
Well,
yeah, we said that. He's a pass.
Well,
it's a country boy,
I'm happy for that. I'm happy to join in the prayers and in the stimulation of spiritual energies that can put things right. I deeply believe in that. But the fact of the matter is that America is very significantly divided, Irwine.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Very, very much so. And I think that is something that both parties will have to work on going forth when you consider the results yesterday. But I want to jump to something positive here, because check this out. A gentleman of Jamaican parentage with a name Westmore. You know where his parents come from?
No, Westmoreland.
Westmoreland.
What is he? What was he running for?
Governor of Maryland. He's now the second black person to be a governor in the United States of America.
Okay.
And not only that, the Attorney General of the state of Maryland, Anthony Brown, is of Jamaican parentage.
Excellent.
And on that note, gentlemen, as we allow that to seep into our mindsets, we're going to take a break. And then we'll come back, and of course by then we should have Professor Basil Wilson on to give us the real deal.
Rich discussion on the American midterm elections and their reverberation south into the Caribbean. Soon come back on the Public Eye. This is the Bridge 99.
Welcome back to the Global Connection Hour with Ronnie Thwaites, Pearnel Charles, and myself, Irwine Clare, here at 93.5 as we connect with our friends there at the Bridge 99 FM in Jamaica. Gentlemen,
we're here and anxious to welcome Professor Wilson. Professor Basil Wilson, are you there?
Yes, sir. Good afternoon.
Hi, welcome home. Join Pearnel and myself and Irwine closer to you. You are the go-to man when we want analysis of the politics of the United States and its relation to the Caribbean. What happened yesterday, Prof. Wilson?
Well, one of the things that I take away from it is the geographical complexity of politics in the United States.
What that means?
Well, what that means is that when you look at the South, it's a different kind of politics. When you look at the Northeast, it's a different kind of politics. In the West, it's different. In the East, it's different. In the Midwest, it's different. And then you have to put all of that together. You have to aggregate it to get a better understanding of the total dynamics of the American political system. And it's quite complex. And that's why, even though the elections are over, we're still contemplating who will control the Senate and who will control the House of Representatives. We're still getting some updates in Arizona, but I think all the votes will not be counted until maybe sometime later on in the week. And in California, some of the seats are still going to be competitive, so a lot of that will not be concluded until maybe a week or two.
What are you what are you predicting?
It seems to me that the Democrats have a good chance of holding the Senate. When you look at Nevada, even though Laxalt is slightly ahead, I think that the expert down there says that the rest of the votes coming in
are Democratic.
Sufficient that the incumbent senators should be able to overtake Laxalt. So if the Democrats win the Nevada seat, Kelly is already leading in Arizona.
Yeah.
It would mean then that the Democrats would have 50 seats since they flipped the Toomey seat in Pennsylvania, and then the runoff with Herschel Walker and Raphael Warnock would not determine who controls the Senate. That will have already been determined.
Uno better get every one of Uno. Better get down into Georgia. Yes. And although Stacey Abrams lose as governor, she's one of the most effective political organizers in America right now. And every black person in the whole of Georgia have come out and voted for Warnock, you know. I'm trying to figure the mind that would have allowed people of color to vote for Herschel Walker.
Well, I think there's no question that Raphael Warnock got the vast majority of the black vote.
Oh, good. I'm glad to hear that.
I think what Walker did, he felt he didn't do as well as Brian Kemp. Kemp, beat Abrams by at least 8 percentage points. And being an incumbent governor, you really have an advantage, and he took advantage of that advantage. But I think there's a question that if it's a runoff, the dynamics could be different.
Yes.
It should change, yeah.
Change in the Democrats' favor?
No, I think it would really be a toss-up. Remember now, at this juncture, Walker has 48.7%. Raphael Warnock has 49.2%. And according to the votes that are out, the Secretary of State is convinced that there are not sufficient votes that have
bring him over the 50.
That would take him over the 50.
In fact, I think they have already just about indicated to be going to a runoff. Let me ask you. I just want to ask this question because people look at the strategy that the Democrats use in these elections, Prof. And questions are now being asked of Jamie Harrison, the DNC chair, as to whether he had indicated he was going to go at the whole 50. Was the strategy a good one for him, sir?
Well, in terms of resources, I don't think there was an equal allocation of resources. There's some feeling that more resources should have put in the North Carolina rates, where that race was really decided just by a couple of thousand votes. And there's some people who felt that Tim Ryan would have really gotten over the top if more resources were placed in that race. Some people thought that Ryan ran a very good race.
Yes.
What is quite interesting to me in terms of understanding Ohio is that Sherrod Brown, who is a Democratic senator, has won elections and re-elections consistently in Ohio by having very good appeal to the white working class.
Yes.
Ryan pegged his entire campaign to the white working class, but yet he came up short. So there seems to have been some tension between Ryan and the Democratic Party campaign. So it would be interesting to really compare those figures, how Sherrod Brown has been able to win elections in Ohio, and even though Vance was considered lazy and a poor candidate, that Ryan could not get over the top.
When I look at, Professor, when I look at the assessment of the leaders, in many of those areas where, for example, what you have just said, Mr. Trump wasn't favorable, wasn't highly favorable. Is it that Trump situation and that Biden situation, the kind of leadership that is offering there has anything to do with yesterday?
Well, let me sharpen the point.
Definitely.
Did Donald Trump win or lose yesterday?
Oh, I think he lost. There's no question, Pearnel and Ronnie, that Trump has come out as quite a wounded candidate, very much wounded. The person has come out much more effective than Trump is DeSantis.
DeSantis, yeah.
Right, who did very well in Florida. So most of the candidates that Trump selected and supported lost.
Yes, indeed. You know, Prof. We normally look at New York as delivering, but the statistics are indicating that New York, especially from our upstate perspective, did not. When you consider that one of the leading Democrat there, who was in charge of the very electoral races in the House, just conceded. What happened there?
Well, one of the things that happened is that there was quite some confusion about redistricting in New York State. And if you will recall, Irwin, that there's a point in time when both Jeffries and, in fact, Yvette Clarke were going to be competing against each other. And so they tried to settle it by including a master. And the way the masters did the redistricting, there were a number of seats that would have been created as safe seats for the Democratic Party, which more than likely they will lose about 5 of those seats, and that might very well can determine who will win or who will control the House of Representatives. So I think the Democratic Party in New York State, in adhering to a certain principle and taking gerrymandering out of politics, which is not the case in a place like Florida, where they and Texas, where they engage in a certain kind of vulgarity in terms of gerrymandering, and so that might very well be costly in terms of the Democrats maintaining control of the House of Representatives.
So hold on now. If Trump is wounded and DeSantis is ascendant, DeSantis is Trump's acolyte, isn't he?
Yes, he's a little
two,
more intelligent than Trump. He's a little more polished, but he's and maybe more dangerous.
Yes, indeed.
Well,
indeed.
That's it. So let ask some quick questions then. Irwin, when you have to take the break.
Go ahead, Ronnie.
Yeah. The left of the Democratic Party. What was their outcome yesterday?
I think they did well in the sense. I mean, even in terms of New York State, one of the criticisms that the elites of the left is making is that because Andrew Cuomo dominated so much of the Democratic Party while he was governor, the Democratic Party has failed to develop a kind of ground game that is essential to winning very close seats. And so even though Hochul had accumulated a great amount of money, she depended too much on television ads, and the reason why maybe Selma did so much better than his predecessor is that the Democratic Party didn't have the ground game, whereas a third party like the Workers' Party had a ground game and was much more effective in the ground than the Democratic Party.
You know, when we look at
Democratic Party,
when we look at Zeldin has done well when you consider.
Zeldin was a Republican candidate.
Yes. When you consider his coattails, Prof, and those who have won as a result of his being in the race.
Yes, he has done well. In fact, there's no question that the campaign that he ran, emphasizing crime. Remember now, the Democrats were running against a headwind where inflation is rampant, and a lot of people have been very critical of the party in power and its inability to control inflation. But Sheldon really rammed home the whole notion of crime, and even though he engaged in a lot of demagoguery, Because if you look at a place like New York City, homicides are down, shootings are down, even though other petty crimes are up. And in fact, the Democratic Party under Hochul and even under Adams, who is the mayor, have been trying effectively to deal with the problem of crime. One of the serious problems of crime in New York City is the mental problems that we face of the homelessness and the fact that there's so many people sleeping in the subways, and there's that kind of social disorder that encourages a certain amount of instability in terms of the public transportation system.
Well, okay, so I had the impression from this distance that the left, the Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and the others attracted a measure of criticism, a measure of disdain, and alienated the centrist voters who clearly have the majority or the swing in America, given the results yesterday. Should they tone down their rhetoric?
No, well, if you look at the results,
It didn't.
Democrats won a majority of the independent voters. Not a huge majority. I think it was about 49 to 47. But I don't think someone like AOC is necessarily alienating anybody. But what I do think is that there's a certain naivety, and I'm addressing more New York State. There's a certain naivety in understanding criminality, right? I think the whole bail reform and how we proceeded to deal with it and not factor in the whole business of dangerousness, that created an opportunity for people like Sheldon to make that into an issue, and really people have the perception that crime isn't more rampant than it really is. If you compare crime from 1990 to, let's say, 2022, there has been a precipitous decline in homicides in New York City. We were about
a decline?
Yeah, decline, yeah.
Wow.
There were 2,262 murders in 1990, and in about 2050, we're less than 300.
That's right.
What?
Yep. And in fact, Prof,
And I know something about it.
Yes, of course. That's your field.
I was a provost at a college of criminal justice
Yes.
for 15 years.
But to move from 2,000 over a period of, say, 10 years or somewhat longer to 300, boy, Pearnel, we need to take some advice from these guys.
Indeed. Gentlemen, and hold that point too, because some advice we have to take is from our sponsors.
Yes.
So we're going to take a break. We'll come back. We'll pick up on that, of course, here in the Global Hour here.
And we're on the public eye on the Bridge 99 FM. Soon come. Thanks for being with us on the Global Connection with Irie Jam in New York. That's the alchemy of the Bridge 99 FM that links Jamaica with the tri-state and indeed people who love us all over the world. Irwine Clare's on the line. He's the host, and Basil Wilson is a retired professor and provost at John Jay College in New York.
But hold on now. And you guys are both retired politicians with about 100 years of experience. Don't forget that.
Well, let me ask you, you think you can retire from politics?
No, we know about you. We know what you do on weekends. We know what you do on weekends.
Don't make Randy tell you anything. Randy get in the car, same like me. Right? Well, this him want, that him want, that
but
children are going to school and this.
But Mr. Thwaites, I only hear of your partner making statements that are out there in the news. I don't hear much of you.
No, that kind of follow me, you know.
I have a hot love affair going, you know, so I have to pay attention to that.
Yes.
Listen now, I want to know from Basil and yourself, is Joe Biden wounded? Is he better off than he was yesterday? Expected to be yesterday, day before yesterday. What's his future with at least a divided Congress and maybe a hostile one?
Before the Prof jumps in with his real facts here, what I observe, I think when President Biden left today, I think for Asia, he left with a bounce. He left with a sense of confidence in dealing with the world. because I think that the world was watching to see what happens yesterday, and we saw how himself and Barack Obama and others were on the campaign trail. Don't forget, again, a president with a rating of one of the lowest ratings in a midterm election, and being able to stem the storm is a significant feat for him.
Prof, what do you think?
Prof,
Well,
Prof, I want to disturb you because I want you to incorporate this. Is there a fault in the assessments being done? As a professor,
you mean the polling?
well, that's part of the assessment, yes. Because I was sweating so badly that you'd believe I was an American, voting there. And
the polling has been disastrous.
Okay.
Largely because once you have the cell phone, and people no longer depend upon the hard phone, it's very difficult to really get a facsimile of the population that is really accurate. And the other thing that is happening is that the turnouts in this sort of midterm election was much higher than people anticipated. In fact, I think it was about 50.7% of the population. And the other thing that is important, and which was to the strength of the Democratic Party, there was a high turnout of young people. And that made it a much better mix for the Democratic Party when midterm elections are usually comprised of people who are much older, much whiter. And here, what you're getting, both in terms of the demographic changes, is an electorate that is becoming much more multiracial. And so therefore you see the manifestation in the fact that there was not a red wave. But coming back to Biden, I think what Biden has been trying to do, and has in fact been somewhat successful, is to really create some kind of welfare capitalist society in which America does not become a dog-eat-dog system, and it's governed much more like what Europe is like. That will be a fact in terms of reducing violence, right? It will be a factor in reducing poverty. It will be a factor in creating more opportunities. It will be creating a much more humane American society rather than one in which quintessential capitalism reigns, and one where you have this enormous amount of affluence, but yet you have so much public poverty.
What do you say his emphasis on trying to preserve democracy, the kind of democracy that we have, might have done some? I mean, is there a fear that we are going into the January 6th, the Trump situation, the racism again? Look, when I say again, I don't think it has ever stopped, but it's just like we're heading into that same direction. I mean, Biden's emphasis and say, look, and I think that Obama backed him up, that we have to preserve what they call democracy.
Well, there's no question that the results of the elections manifested to take a few steps backward from that obsession with Trump, that elections are rigged and going back to the 2020 election and really casting doubt in the integrity of the election. I think what we should do is send a delegation from Jamaica to show America how elections are conducted.
Absolutely. Cheers. Marvelous.
Listen.
Send the money.
Indeed. Listen, I want to jump to this whole situation. We'll look at bright lights and points of interest in these elections. And we were having this discussion before you came on, Prof. And that is bright light. Here again, in the midst of everything, pops up a Jamaican in the midst of things. Westmore, with parents from Westmoreland, is now the second black person to be a governor. The third, I should say.
Tell me, is he a Democrat?
He's a Democrat,
okay.
Yes. Along with Anthony Brown, Attorney General. Talk to us about that and its importance, Professor.
Jamaican descendants.
Yes.
And I hear
Yes,
somebody just shout out and say, look, why don't you just say they're Jamaicans? I mean, the person is like Ronnie, not very black, skin-wise, but
hello.
But he's very, very level-headed. In fact, he said that he think I'm on his side more than he is.
Hold on. Is that Clarendon person talking to you? But anyway, Professor.
No, sent on.
Okay. Professor.
Well, Westmore's had a fascinating career in the private sector. In terms of, he won that race by over 20%. And there's no question that he's going to be a rising star in the Democratic Party. He's fairly young, so he can really build a base, govern effectively in Maryland, and then he can really begin to look at the possibility of running in a presidential election. But he has time, and I think that based upon his ideas, he's very much tuned into retraining, creating opportunities, making certain that government works effectively. He has not had a lot of elected experience, but he has had quite an abundance of executive experience. So we really look forward to seeing him as a rising star in the Democratic Party.
I have a couple of big ones for you. What does it say about the 2024 presidential race? We've already thought that DeSantis has a fair shot at the Republican, but hopefully a big scramble up with Trump. What about the Democratic Party? Is Joe Biden able to consider running, or should he take what has happened yesterday and decide to anoint somebody else? Or
can I just add, is Trump injured in any way?
Yeah, we asked that earlier, and they say he's wounded.
Yeah, he is wounded. So the firewall for the Democratic Party, based upon the Electoral College, is Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania. The governor of Wisconsin, who is Democratic, won re-election. Biden only won Wisconsin by 20,000. The governor won by 80,000. In Michigan, the governor was re-elected, who was Democratic. Biden won that Michigan by 150,000 votes in 2020. In Pennsylvania, Biden only won by 80,000. Jack Shapiro won that gubernatorial race by over 13%, and in fact,
he beat Mastriano.
Yes.
Boy, that one sweet me no. Boy, that is a wonderful victory.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely, and Vitterman won the senatorial seat. So if once the Democrats maintain that firewall, it becomes nigh impossible to beat them presidentially. And so that, to me, is going to encourage Biden, despite his age, that he feels as if he would still be an effective candidate in getting a second term.
Mm.
And is he up to it health-wise?
Well,
I don't. You have that is medical, but we look at physics.
That's not.
Look at physics and decide.
Pearnel, you have an abundance of medical people within your family. And you know that once we get to a certain age, the health care can become unpredictable. But thus far, his health has been good, and he has carried himself very well. And in fact, coming out of this midterm election, Biden to me looks much stronger, and will be less inclined for anybody to challenge him if he decides to run.
Mm-hmm. Prof, as a lesson from many who are listening now and getting a better favor and understanding of how this whole political system works, would demonstrate and we should be demonstrating and highlighting to them the importance of our participation at the local level. getting our council member seats, persons elected, or assembly persons elected, getting our governorship, which is something that the Tea Party, the Republican Party through the Tea Party some 15, 20 years ago ensured. Is that something now that the Democrats will take going into as they prepare for elections in the future? Because the importance of that grassroots initiative is so critical to the outcomes we see here today.
Definitely, Irwin, because one of the things that has happened is that there's been too much occupation in looking at national elections and insufficient attention being paid to local elections, especially even school board elections now.
Man.
I mean, one of the things about American politics is that there's always elections. In fact, there's so many elections that we don't have any time to govern.
Well,
And
that's
so
the
you
truth.
have to make certain, because you have 435 people in the House of Representatives.
That runs every 2 years.
By the time they get elected, they're trying to raise money to run again. And there's a certain absurdity about the system. But you have to deal with it as it is, and you have to build those grassroots movements and make certain that you can really mobilize people, educate people on such an ongoing basis, that you're not just dealing with abstractions or just dealing with television ads, but you have a movement on the ground that is having an impact on how people approach the whole political system.
Two other quick questions before you have to go. The composition of the Senate is going to be so tight that the filibuster will rule again?
Yes, definitely.
So that's
but
good luck.
One of the good things about it is that if the Democrats can hold a majority, is that at least when it comes to cabinet positions and also
Judges.
when it comes to federal judges,
Yeah.
especially if anybody, based upon the Supreme Court, resigns or falls into ill health or what have you, Biden will get an opportunity to really appoint more judges to the Supreme Court. Right now, it is so imbalanced that, in fact, I think the Supreme Court has done damage to itself, and there's no question that Roe versus Wade was a big factor in the elections and the effective performance of the Democratic Party yesterday.
Final question. What's the fate of Ukraine and American support for that epic battle?
Well, the Republican Party, with the possible speaker, if they get a majority, was talking about there would no longer be a blank check for Ukraine.
That's Kevin McCarthy.
Yes,
That is
he
Kevin
gets it.
McCarthy. But, this is really such an important fight for the democratic world. Putin has really miscalculated. His troops on the ground have fallen apart. And there's a question that if they continue to get the support of NATO and the American government, that they can, that not easily, but they will be defeated and be driven out of the Ukraine.
By the way, just in parenthesis, have both you gentlemen who are closer to the news networks, have you heard that the Russians are abandoning Kherson?
Well, in terms of the civilian population, they've been trying to abandon it, but there's some indication that they might be pouring in new troops in order to hold on
Well,
to
the
it.
latest we got here was that the Russian generals were saying that the military were strategically withdrawing.
Yes.
And both Pearnel and I were wondering how that could be, why that would be, and whether this was in fact fake news.
I think I got that
Well,
to the BBC.
Yeah,
BBC,
I did
yes.
too.
And the BBC is usually accurate, and maybe one of the reasons for that is that there's 300,000 people that Putin was hoping to mobilize and to
Did
send
not
as
happen.
reinforcement has not come true.
Nope.
And in fact, they're really in a state of disarray, even in terms of their logistics. So I wouldn't be surprised if they're in a process of withdrawing from Kherson.
And especially with the weather changing, winter.
Well, that's
Well,
interesting.
All of that will-
I know you have to go, but I mean, it would be an epic loss if the United States were to pull back on
Yes,
support for Ukraine. Eh?
Indeed.
That's key.
All right.
Well,
We'll have
I
to
don't
see.
think it can be done. It will be done precipitously.
Well, there
Yes.
you are.
You got- okay.
Irwin, I think you want to leave us.
Well, not yet. No, I have time. I wanted to share with you. I just want to say thanks to Professor for his contributions today, but to also let listeners in Jamaica and here in the Tri-State area also be reminded that we understand that one Pearnel Charles Jr., who is the Minister of Agriculture and Fisheries, will be in the area. Will be in the Tri-State area shortly. There are plans for a town hall forum with him to talk about, of course, agriculture. He'll be making some stops at some of the locations here, and it's very good. It's kind of a timely situation. We wish to see more persons like him here, considering that the Tri-State area is one of the major consumers of products out of Jamaica. I think it's important that he be here. So we're looking forward to hear what he has to say and what are the opportunities that exist. So we're just letting our community know that, Ronnie, and also to let the guy who sits beside you know that, you know.
He's proud of that, and so are we. We hope some good business deals can be cemented, you know.
Indeed.
Well,
indeed.
I understand too, Irwin, that he's going to be speaking to some of the guys who you have introduced to us, and who are broadcast here, and he has been attracted to them.
Indeed.
And
Indeed.
If we can set down some business.
Yeah, man. And one of the things we want to hear the minister too is that we just don't want to hear what Jamaica wants, but also to make sure that Jamaicans with the skill sets in agriculture and other be part of his policy making decision processes in Jamaica as well. We want to be at the table.
Thanks so much, Irwine Clare.
Right.
That's marvelous news. Basil Wilson, always grateful for your company. Till next time.
All right, so that was it, ladies and gentlemen.
Good. Okay, now hope we have some good news next week to tell us who is going to follow him and come back to Jamaica.
There you are. Before you go, though, Pearnel, on the public eye, should somebody be responsible for the death of those little babies in the hospital?
I hate to say yes and I hate to say no, and I tell you why.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody deliberately caused them to die.
Mm-hmm.
And from what I heard,
mm-hmm.
how the bacteria might have entered, I am not sure that I am medically qualified to make, but I'm politically qualified to say somebody has to be responsible all the way, whether it is in the doctors, the nurses, the politicians, the government. Somebody's going to come out and say, how did I lose a baby?
I don't know, but when I entered the cabinet of the country,
the
Prime Minister at the time was very simple and very clear to us. She just said, look, if something untoward happens in your ministry, don't tell me you never knew about it. And don't tell me you're not responsible. And don't let me have to ask you to do what is right. She was very clear. I remember it very, very intensely. And it struck me as being a difficult responsibility because particularly in one of the super ministries, these large enterprises with several departments and all kinds of different things, it's hard to know and everything and be responsible. And yet in our system you are.
Well, let me ask you a question. Were you in Parliament when the question arose for Dr. Ferguson?
Yes.
Were you there when the vote was taken?
Yes.
Did you know that I did not vote for it?
I did not.
Well, will you go and check the answer?
No, I'd be happy
to. You know why I didn't?
Just believe you.
I was influenced by my medical team at home.
Yes.
That I don't think that the doctor...
Mm-hmm. But you see, it's all...
The politics and the medical thing did not work.
It's a question of who accepts responsibility and what you do about it. But thanks so much for the company today. Irwine Clare, grateful to have you with us from Irie Jam in New York. That's the real beauty of the connection. And Pearnel Charles, always good for your company. Looking forward to all of our listeners joining us next week, Wednesday, for the Public Eye with the Open Mind on the Bridge 99. It's Nicky Z's turn. See you then.